We've been, I'm a fourth generation here, and we're a dairy farmer, and the veal calves, the bull calves are a byproduct really of the dairy industry. So all the calves taken from their mothers at birth, and so the milk can go into the food chain. Then these bull calves, there's no value.
Well, the female ones go into the herds, and then you keep them on the farm, and then the male calves don't have traditionally not had a value of those. So for years they've been destroyed at birth, which is absolutely horrendous, and it's the absolute worst part of the whole industry, really. But it's basic economics. If they've got no value, we can't keep them. So, and we're running a business. So they've been destroyed. Which is, growing up on the farm, me and Hopkin have absolutely hated the needless wasting of them, really, when they can be put to use and raised and be given a good life while they're here and put in the food chain, you know. So so Hopkin was saying. Yeah,
lost my train of thought. Yeah, like these calves, they're there anyway, and we were shooting them day old because they don't grow as quick as the other breeds. Pure beef breed would be mature enough to go for slaughter at 12 months, whereas you want to be taking on a Holstein, which we breed because they're predominantly milk breed. We want to be taking them on to 18 months, so you've got another 6 months of expenditure. So, but they all get to around about the same size, the same time, by 6 to 7 months, which is when we're killing them for veal. And so I've been thinking about it for a long time and see there's an opportunity. Now,
it's something that gets eaten quite a lot on the continent, isn't it? In France and things, they don't, it's part of their diet, they eat veal, and I think it's just got such a bad rep over here from what was going on in like the 80s and 90s with white veal, which is what we're not doing here. We raise rose veal. White veal is kept in crates, really bad welfare, and that's the image that people have in their heads when they think of veal, and I think that's why we don't eat it over here, is because it's got a bad image, isn't it?
And morally, if you're drinking milk, you should be eating veal, because as I said, it's a byproduct of the dairy industry, and it's something that I want to. People should be getting to eat, I feel.
Yeah, and it's kept a lot long. It's kept longer than lamb, longer than things like suckling pig, and a lot longer than some chickens that you get in the supermarket, and a lot much better welfare. And people don't even think twice about that. So if people eat lamb, I can't see why they wouldn't eat veal, really.
Yeah, could you just describe the kind of conditions that you keep them in here, like how they live, how you treat them?
The calves are all taken from their mother at day old. They're then raised by us for the first 5 days. They have their mother's milk, and they're hand fed in open pens. They're mixed in groups no bigger than 5, so you can keep an eye on them. You can watch them all. You can tell if there's any going sick. Then after 5 days, then the heifers go on to a automated machine that mixes warm milk powder for them as and when they want it. The bull calves go on to a different system. They have the milk as waste milk from the parlour, anything that's
can't go into
the food chain, basically, if it's got what they call a high cell count.
Milk that would otherwise get chucked away. So now that milk would have got chucked away, whereas we're keeping the veal calves, so we can now put that back into the veal calves. So it's minimising waste again, isn't it? So
yeah, and then they're housed in groups of 5 to 10, depending on age groups. Again, open loose house pens, deep straw, and free access to hard feed, straw and hay. And they get their milk then. They get between 2 and 3 litres twice a day, and in a big tub, and they all kind of fight for it They live in a big group, and then we watch the social groups as well. If there's one being bullied, because he's a bit smaller, he'll go down the group, so he's in a big for a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
So he's they're well looked after.
And could you just describe for people who don't know the difference between rose veal and white veal?
Rose veal is it's a lot pinker, as it suggests with the colour. white veal is really pale and rose veal is a pink in colour, due to the way they're raised. In the 80s and 90s, the white veal was raised in crates and they were restricted movement, which gives the colour of the meat, whereas we allow our calves to wander around and demonstrate, natural behaviour and be in social groups and things, whereas they weren't before, and that affects the colour of the meat then, and the feed as well does.
Yeah, they've the white veal would have been restricted just to have drinking milk, and that would have been their only food source. Whereas the rose veal, they have hard feed, they have straw, hay, and Louise said they got free access to express natural behaviour.